Hey guys, do I have the episode for you today? You're not going to believe who I have on the show today. I am super excited to introduce you guys to Joseph Jericho from the Jericho Strategy. You are very welcome on this show, and I'm so excited for you to tell us everything about social media strategy, what is going on behind the scenes online with before and after pictures. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about you and how you got started in this career path?
Yes, thank you for that lovely introduction. So I moved to Los Angeles like about almost a decade ago, 2015, with no intention of staying, honestly. I was going to come here to study. I mean, I've heard of, obviously, I grew up with American culture, movies, music, and all of that. So I had this like idea, and I also, coming from Sweden, we know English, but I wanted to like elevate what I was doing, which was photography and media, to the next level. And I was like, where do you do that in the world? Obviously, Hollywood and California. So I came here with the intention of getting a degree at USC specifically, and then move back. And then I had done my undergrad and finished my undergrad, and I was in the process of transferring over to my the university. And that summer, they give us an opportunity to basically do something called OPT, optional practical training. So I was at a party. I had already gotten a job. I was at a party with my boyfriend's cousin. She threw this party, and there was this girl there, and she was talking to me about this like doctor that was like new in town, and he had opened up a practice in Beverly Hills, and that they were looking for someone to do their like social media and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, like I'm not really looking to work for a doctor. But then she was like, just meet me at his office like on Monday, and then I did. Well, that was kind of interesting because I had no idea who this doctor was. He was kind of like standoffish, and at first he wasn't even aware that I came there to get this position or to apply for this position. But I just like went with it. And at first they didn't want me to they had no intention of having me be doing the social media. So I was doing the front desk. I was just like answering phones, checking in, checking out patient. And mind you, this office was like fairly small. Like it was like he had just opened it. There was barely any patients, barely any staff members or anything like that. It was just like me and like three other people, which is like pretty small in a Beverly Hills plastic surgery office. And I had no experience of the plastic surgery world. But I'll get to like in how all of this is kind of like became full circle for me later. So anyway, so I started off by answering the phones. I was a little bit annoyed because that wasn't really what I was like I wanted to do. I felt like I could do so much more. And then one day in between, because his OR was in his office, which is kind of a rare thing today. A lot of doctors, as you may know, they don't have that. They have like it's an outsourced, like another facility that they do their surgery on, but he had it in his office. So in between surgeries, he was kind of like posting and putting his videos together by his own. I saw him like struggling doing this post, and I was like, you know what? Like, I just approached him. I was like, hey, like, give me your phone. I'll do it for you. He's like, seriously? I was like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of like why I came here in the first place. So he was like, okay, here, take my phone, do whatever you want. And like 5 hours later, after his surgery, I think he had like a full facelift, lip lift, the whole thing. He came out, and I had done a couple of posts, and he looked at them and he was like, okay, whatever you just did, just keep doing it. He gave me his phone and he was like, just keep doing that. Don't do anything else. Just keep doing that. And that's kind of like how it started. The doctor was the facial plastic surgeon, Dr. Bentali. And I had no idea who it was. I mean, obviously now a lot of people do in this industry. He has gone to become one of the most prominent facial plastic surgeon out there. Extremely talented in so many ways. I owe him everything. He taught me everything. He knew a lot about marketing, a lot of things that people might not know. He, might not know that he's like known for. So yeah, he just taught me a lot. And 5 years later or 6 years later, I felt that it was time for me to like move on to the next step. His practice just grew tremendously. And, there was nothing left that I could do there. I felt like I did everything. I hired my own team, which he's still using. I was a part of having him on so many publications, podcasts. He collaborated with a lot of other doctors. We created a podcast. We filmed countless of different segments, not just for like social media, but also for broadcasting, television, and not to mention all the major publications. So I just felt like I did everything that you could do for a doctor. And now I felt like it would be interesting and intriguing to see what I can do for someone else.
I
So
love to
yeah,
hear that. I love to
yeah,
hear it. So it started on the job and then you went off and started your own company. I love it.
yeah,
So let's talk about something that was actually one of the reasons why you caught my eye, because there was an article that you were a part of, and that article was talking about plastic surgery pricing. And I want to talk all about it
yeah.
because I think we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, so plastic surgery pricing is obviously, as we know today, with the rise of social media, in the last like 10 years that I've worked with it. Back when we started, people didn't even have social media people in their staff. It was like unknown. It was like a handful of doctors that had that. So other doctors, when they found out that, oh, this and that doctor has that, it was like, it became this like thing. And now they all wanted to get their own person or their own team, if they, understood the power of it. A lot of people today still don't understand the power. I still to this day hear, surgeons or medical aesthetic practitioners telling me, "Oh, we don't need that." I'm fully booked as it is on my own. I don't need that. It became very competitive, and with that, the prices increase, right? Like, supply and demand type of thing that happened, that's kind of like the case. And also with social media comes the whole phenomenon of people becoming, first of all, seeing themselves more. And then the pandemic that amplified even more with people with the whole Zoom effect and all of that. So now people are becoming more vain. So, there's like multiple amplifiers that like created this like beast of an industry that has become the plastic surgery industry. So all the prices are just like, through the roof. There are doctors today that I know that are charging like $500,000 for a facelift. Like they're not many, but they are. Just the fact that that exists is insane. So I want people to know that there are ways that you can do. If you do your research, if you do your due diligence, you can actually get around having to pay those prices and still get good quality surgery.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. Let's like really talk about it. So, half a
Yeah.
million dollar facelift. How? Like where? Because, okay, on the back end, right? When I was a patient coordinator and I would have to put quotes together, you have your surgeon's fee, you have anesthesia, you have the facility fee, and then you have any extras like Exparel, garments, massages, those types of things that they add on. I want to see the quote, the breakdown of a
Yeah.
$500,000 facelift. Like where is the fee? Like where is all of the money being allocated to? I just want to see. I'm so curious. I have not seen one yet. I've seen some really crazy quotes, which actually I might let's put some up here. Because $500,000, I wasn't even thinking about those quotes. I was thinking about the $200,000 facelift and the $100,000 facelift and $75,000 tummy tuck and those types of surgeries where you're like, I'm still asking myself the same question. I wish I could see the breakdown of this.
Yeah. I know. I think the one component of all those that you just mentioned that is can fluctuate, that is hard to kind of like decipher in terms of like what this is, what this entails, what am I getting, is the surgeon fee. Everything else is kind of standardized, so people know like this is how much you usually pay anesthesiologist, is how much you pay for an operating room fee, but the surgeon fee is the fee that is kind of like the artist that puts their fee on their painting. And as we all know, that fee can like be anything. They don't have to explain it to you whatsoever. They really don't. They just see it as, this is what I'm worth, and they can just put whatever number they feel like. And that's what that is. There's a little bit of an ego thing in it. Obviously, I don't want to be, ruffle any feathers, but let's get real. That's kind of like what it is.
I totally agree because hey, I'm all for charge what you feel you're worth, charge for your worth, but okay, I'm just picturing in my head this quote for $500,000. I guess if you're even considering paying that, you're probably not even worried about nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
sure you were probably referred by somebody who probably already had surgery with that doctor. But my point is, not everybody can pay that. Not everybody has $500,000, laying around to go get a facelift. When you're looking at quotes as a patient and as a social media strategist, right? You're looking at the industry and you're looking at what is real and what's not real. And I want you, Joseph, to tell us from the behind the scenes, what are some things that you're seeing that you're shocked by, that you are just worried about? I want to know. What are you seeing?
Oh, wow. I don't even know where to start. So, first of all, there is this referral system where doctors refer to each other, and then there is obviously diagnosis and recommendations. Patients come in for their consultations, and then the doctor gives their recommendation based off of that evaluation. So I have found, and this is a little bit unfortunate, I'm hoping that it is changing, but I have found that there's a lot of monetary incentive behind those recommendations, where the patient's interest might not be, on the forefront of that. Um, that's kind of like something that I would want patients to be aware of. I'm not saying that I have worked with doctors that do that. I'm just saying that I've seen it, because I've met doctors that I don't necessarily work with. I just meet a lot of doctors, like, you know,
Being in the
on
industry, you get to
yeah, and
talk to a
also
lot of
I
people.
follow a lot of my friends who I recommend different doctors to, and I go with them to their consultation, and I learn a lot from those visits, kind of like being from the patient point of view from of that. And that's when I've noticed that, like, the motives of the doctors during the consultations might not be truly in the heart of the patient's best of interest. That's why I always tell everyone, go to at least 3 different consultations before you decide. And I know that you say something similar, like, to that effect. That, like, make sure you, first of all, you really do your research. Like, obviously there's, like, you can go on Google, you can even like ask chat GBT today, like, all kinds of questions and get that answer. But then you need to be like a good evaluator. You need to be able to filter out what's real and what's not, and what's generated, what's, like, digitally generated. And because, as we all know, with Google and all of that, everything is paid for with SEO and all that. So how you can kind of like balance that out is you ask people, right? You go online. If you don't know anyone, you ask someone, and you ask for referral. Maybe you can call the office. And I know a lot of the offices, they have, especially like where we work for Ben, there was a lot of patients who used to tell us, like, hey, I would be happy to be a point of contact for other patients if they want to contact me, and we would give that patient's information out. So you never know. Ask if you're inquiring for a lip lift. Ask this to talk to another lip lift patient, and then obviously, like, visit at least 3 doctors and feel it out, because that gut feeling that we used to kind of like, we all have. Some would call it female intuition. I just call it a gut feeling, because I think everyone has it, female or not. That is real. The gut feeling is real. So go off of that. You will get that feeling from the first visit. Some people, I have a friend right now who has been inquiring for, I call it like a baby rhino. Basically, she wants to do like a very subtle rhino. So we went to two doctors. By the second doctor, she was like, "Oh, this is it. This is the guy." I was like, "Okay, he's very good and
You're
all,
like,
but like,
we have one
do
more
you?
consult.
Yeah, you don't think we should like go to the third doctor?" She's like, "No, no, no, no. This is it. This is it." And I'm like, "Okay, okay. I mean, but are you sure? Like, let's just go to the third doctor." And then, I convinced her to go to the third doctor, and we go to the third doctor, and the third doctor, that was it. She just felt like, after that, she changed her mind. And I was like, you see, like, what if you had gone with the second one? So really, I think three is the magic number there. Like, visit three doctors. This is just one of the ways that I would say that you should like look for if you want to make sure that you're getting the best price or best bang for your buck.
Best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want you to tell us a little bit about what you're seeing on your end as far as the digital landscape. We talked a minute ago about egos and charging larger prices or bigger prices based on what you feel you're worth, right? And I want to talk about how there are some businesses, because plastic surgeons are still businesses, right? You guys need to remember this. They're a small business. They graduate from school, they finish their residency, they're fresh out of school, they got student loan debt. They have to start a business from scratch or join a practice or join a hospital. I want our listeners, my girls, I want y'all to think about this, that the plastic surgeons are business owners, right? With that point made, business owners are trying to grow their business, right? And you and I, Joseph, and my girls who are listening, we know that there's the difference between the plastic surgeons and the cosmetic surgeons, right? And we also know that the surgeons that are very popular online have bigger prices, unless they market low prices, unless they're like practice that markets really low cost surgery. What are you seeing out there in the digital landscape with plastic surgeons, cosmetic surgeons, and all of that chaos?
In terms of what
In
exactly?
terms of who's winning, who's getting out there, who's able to really get in front of the patients. Because I can tell you there's some surgeons here in my city in Houston who there's two levels, right? So there's the surgeons that have grown from word of mouth, that have been in practice for a long time, that are very ethical, growing their
Yeah.
practice slow and steady. And then there's cosmetic surgeons. I talked about one recently who come on the scene, they decided they're changing from gynecology, now they're going to be cosmetic surgeons.
Yeah.
They and they're quicker on hiring social media people because, as we just said earlier, having a social media person is something new for
Yeah.
the surgeons. Like this wasn't how it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's new.
Okay. Yeah.
And the early adapters blew up.
Yeah.
And the ones who are slow are the ones that are like, oh, there's no patients. But really, people are having surgery. They're just finding the other cosmetic surgeons first. They're finding the other people who do have on staff social media help to get in front of the audience.
Yeah. First of all, just a disclaimer, I do social media marketing, and I'm in no way a professional, like an accredited, professional with medical credentials. So all of my recommendations and the information that I say is just based on personal opinion. That's number one. Number two is there is a difference, but there's a big difference between cosmetic surgeon and a plastic surgeon. Okay. And you kind of like touched on that as well, because cosmetic surgeons, they usually specialize in something else, like they're ENTs, and then they decide they want to do liposuction and they start doing that. So I think that people should be very careful about that for many reasons, because you do want the person operating on you to have a, you want them to be specialized, and you want them to really know what they're doing, and you want them to have the experience doing that for many, many years. So, and doing that over and over again repeatedly. So you know, I would say, and I can easily tell you that, marketing is the one thing that you really do need that is going to like make you or break you, just based off of what I do. It would be a very biased, commentary on my end, if you may, but the truth is, a sweet spot of all of that is the key. So just to give you an example, I have one of my clients right now is kind of like a goat in the industry. He's been around forever. He's been around before social media. He is kind of like the forefront runner of like facial plastic surgery before all these other the current facial plastic surgeons that we know of. The only difference is he never really understood or invested in marketing or social media, so people don't know who he is. I call these doctors the under the radar doctors. They're very good. They have their fan base of people in the industry who know who they are, but people like the general public, if you may, or like the phone scrollers, they don't know who they are. So I'm trying to kind of like change that for him right now. So I would say, just to answer your question, a sweet spot of all of that. Like, imagine having someone that is actually like an accredited, board certified plastic surgeon specialized in, doing what he's or she actually is doing, and then understands marketing and has put all the right resources on that. And, also happens to be very talented at what she is doing. So that's kind of like the perfect trifecta of all of that. And there are some, like I would say the doctor that I worked for was one of them, like the first doctor. He was definitely one of those people.
I could not agree more. If whoever's listening, if you are a longtime listener, you know that in one of my first episodes, I talked about how there's hidden gems in the
Yeah.
industry where the price is still reasonable and it's still a good price. The skill and the talent is outstanding. The recovery and the hand holding is amazing, and the perfect combination for a really good surgical experience. I like to say they're like the surgeons that between 5 to 15 years out, or
Yeah.
maybe 5 to 20,
Yeah.
somewhere around
A-
there.
And then there's also these fellows, like the younger up
Yeah.
and coming ones that are working under bigger established surgeons, which is one of the points that I'm making in the article that you mentioned before. They're very hard, not very hard to find, because some of the doctors, they actually do promote them on their own channels, especially on Instagram. So you can find them that way. But they are like, they work under these established surgeons, and their work is impeccable, if not better sometimes, because I feel like they're hungrier. They have, all the eyes on them. So there's a lot of pressure. So they take their time. They really make an extra effort to make sure that everyone, like, everything is done right. Everyone's happy. So, and obviously, not to mention price wise, you're getting a big deal there, because it's
Mm-hmm.
not, they're not fully, they're not done yet. They're not like, they don't have their own practices. They're not board certified. So for that reason, you will get a significant price reduction.
And just because they're not board certified yet, it's kind of like they're in training, they're still getting familiar with certain procedures because they graduate from residency and then they do an extra fellowship. So they're learning on the job kind of with a fellowship.
Yeah. But I've seen some of their work, some of them, and it's like, it's impeccable. It's really good. So look for those.
So before I let you go, Joseph, I want you to give my listeners, give my girls, I want to say, give them a crash course on how to tell if the before and after photos that they're looking at
Oh my God,
are
that's my favorite topic.
are
So,
good.
this is one of my pet peeves. My God, I just get insane. I mean, we've all seen these like Turkish surgeons before and after
Oh
photos,
gosh.
especially one of them recently that kind of went viral and had the guy in one of the photos, because we all know they're two different people, came out and said that the surgeon took his stole his identity, basically. That was like an extreme case of that. But I've also seen these like kind of like subtle cases of, American practitioners, not just surgeons, but also like cosmetic nurses and dermatologists, where you see that there are not necessarily intentional deceits in the photos, but there might be, okay, so one of them that it just drives me insane is this like very clearly overexposed after photo. That's like kind of like the obvious that I feel like everyone should know by now. Like that if you overexpose someone's face in a photo, you're not gonna get any lines. You're not gonna see, like, everyone just looks better overexposed, obviously. Like if you look at these like photos from the 90s, from the head, like the classic like actor headshot where all you see is like two nostrils, like that's all you see. That's like one of them. Another one is, these like lip filler before and afters, where you see the lip filler right after. I mean, poke a needle into anyone's like skin and then try not to get some sort of a
Swelling.
trauma caused a swelling. I mean, it just goes without saying. Of course, you're gonna get like something. I would want to see that like 2 weeks after, or like 3 weeks after. That would be kind of like more of a fair assessment of that photo. And then some other non-subtle, but I would say basically non-intentional errors that I see a lot of people make with their before and after photos is the focal length. And this is like an extreme case of that. It's what we've seen with the Turkish surgeons, where you see these like enormous like noses in the before. And that's because they use a very, like, it looks kind of like a fishbowl. It's like very wide focal length, which is anywhere under 35 millimeters. The sweet spot of any portrait photo, classic portrait photo, where it's equivalent to how the eye perceive the face, is anywhere between 50 millimeters to 85. A lot of people, I mean, I have one right now that like is insisting that like, oh, I can get that with an iPhone, but you really can't. You really need a DSLR to be able to control that and have a zoom lens where exactly, and you're being consistent with that focal length. So next time the patient comes, that you used, 85 millimeters and you use that again, so you're getting a consistency in your before and after photos. So, I mean, there's just so much I can go on. Like body wise, there is this like on the table results, with the tummy tucks on the table, obviously with gravity, we all know. Like I have this like series that I did on my stories. I call it the elevator mirror selfie, where I'm taking a selfie on there's this elevator where I worked at Ben's office in Beverly Hills. There's a mirror on the ceiling, and I was always taking a photo. And it's because the gravity just makes everything look so nice. Like when you like do this. So same thing goes for these body surgeries. When they're on the table, they had just finished surgery. Of course, you're gonna look good. There's like zero gravity. You're on the table. So yeah. So there's like so many things I can go on and on about this. Like
You know what? It is something we can go on and on. When I was interviewing Lauren last episode, she even brought up like the different angles that they angle the bed for the BBL shoot. And we talked about the oils, and we talked about the lighting and getting it just right. And this is one of the reasons why when you're looking at a plastic surgeon's website, Instagram, before and after photo gallery, it's important for you to look for photos that are not freshly on the table. You want to look at photos of those patients at 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, a year. But that's how you're really going to be able to gauge if that patient had a good result or not, especially for fat transfers and especially for tummy tucks, because
yeah.
the way it'll look on the table is completely different than how it's going to heal 6 months later.
Yeah. And then also keep in mind that there is so many elements and details that goes on into taking these before and after photos for the surgeons. I mean, one of the biggest, I don't know if I should call it obstacle, but like a thing is, getting the patients to come back and getting the, like, for instance, there's a lot of instance where, you would see on a facelift before and after photo, you would see patients, with like heavy makeup on the after. And then you see all the comments, oh my God, she has makeup on. But the truth of the matter is, it's so hard to get patients to say yes, to agree, to have them not just like taking the photo, because it's a protocol that everyone takes photos, but to say yes to be on their social media, like on Instagram. A lot of people say yes to website, but not a lot of people say yes to Instagram because they just don't want to deal with the scrutiny. And I understand that. So saying yes, it's just like the doctors feel just so appreciative about it. So they don't want to then, you know, make it even more, you know,
Oh, okay. You will say
harder
yes,
by like,
take off all your makeup.
yeah,
Go
take
wash
off.
your
Yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're like, you know what? Yes, let's do it. And then they just take the photo and that's that. It's like it's if there's a few minutes and then they're gone, then they're on to the next page. All of this is done between patients, by the way. It's not like they're coming in just for that. It's like for their follow-up or something like that.
I've made this point before on the
Yeah.
show, on an episode where we were talking about before and after photos. And the question was, it was something along the lines of picking a specialist or picking a surgeon that specializes in the surgery that you do.
Yeah.
And there's some surgeons, for example, that specialize just in body, they specialize in face, different things. But for example, if a patient is looking for a procedure, for example, let's say a rhinoplasty.
Yeah.
Let's say a patient is looking for a rhinoplasty and they're looking at a before and after gallery on a surgeon's Instagram or on their website, and they don't see a lot of those procedures,
Yeah.
right? That was where the conversation was when we
That's a
talked
red
about
flag.
this in a
Yeah.
previous episode where I said, you guys have no idea how hard it is to get the patients to come back to take a picture. You
Oh
guys
my
have
God.
no idea. I have
It's a
been
project.
as a coordinator, it was part of my like goal.
Oh yeah.
I want to get the after picture. Calling Miss I tell this to all of my one-on-one girls. I'm like, look, when we're first starting working together, you're going to be calling me all the time. You're going to be texting me all the time up until surgery. We're going to be talking after surgery. Once you hit that 6 to 8 week mark, girl, please answer my phone call when I call you
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
going to
They
be
they just
off living your best life. Like, you're not
they
even
go
going to
ghost
remember
on
me
you. Yeah.
anymore. Yeah, you go ghost on
Yeah.
me. And all I get is like, I'm doing great. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, but send me a picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, it's so hard. And then, one of the things that oh my God, you just remembered to me. Oh my God, that was such a project. I've been there too, where I have to like hunt people down and you feel like such a stalker all the time. So you have to kind of like, lure them in with something, offer them free this, free that, discount this, discount that, just to get them in. So I mean, just know it's hard. One thing that other doctors ask me about is how did that doctor get all of his patients to say yes to that? The funny thing is, the more established the doctor is, the easier or the more likely they will get a yes, because it becomes this kind of like this a hot commodity thing where you want almost to end up on their feed. It's kind of like a privilege. It's a sign of like success, of if you will, to like have been on the feed. And that like, it's unfortunate because those are the doctors who don't really need it anymore. It's a project for sure.
It's a project. So if you're listening and you are post-op from surgery and you have not gone back to your surgeon to get your after picture, this is
Please do.
your sign to please go do that. Please call them up and be like, hey, I'm ready to come in and take my after photos. And I bet you they will be so happy to have you.
They will be so happy to have you. And then next time, if you need something else, or your friend needs something, like they will hook you up. Like they will see that and they will make a note of that, and really treat you, give you that extra
Give
treatment
you,
next time.
yeah, give you a little
Yeah.
love.
So like think ahead, think long term.
I love it. Okay, Joseph. So that is the wraps up our episode. Before I let you go, if you were talking to a best friend, a sister, your mom, and she's telling you that she's thinking about having surgery, what's the one tip that you would give her?
Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's a good question. I love this question. Okay. I actually told my friend this recently. If you're thinking about getting anything done, think about it for another year. If you feel the same way in a year, do it. Let at least a year pass, because I'm going to tell you why. I've done some stuff. I'm not like a plastic fantastic person. I work in this industry and I have the opportunity to do stuff, but I've done some stuff, and some of the stuff I do regret. I feel like I should have put more thought into it. One of them was a rhino. This I did in Sweden way before I moved, way before I was in the industry. I just feel like the ideals, they change. Like, for instance, BBL is a perfect example of that, where everyone is like reversing their BBLs now, right? Like, what if you did BBL? Like, these surgeries are not like to be taken lightly. Like, you should really chill and think about it. If you still feel the same way in a year or so from now, then you do it. I did a rhino, and I kind of feel that I should have left my like bigger nose as it was, because I feel like, I don't know, I just like bigger noses on guys. I think it's really like, it's just sexy. It just looks more masculine than like smaller noses. But that's just my preference. And this goes to show like how not only ideals change, but like your preferences and your tastes and you know, all of that, it just changes. So like, take your time. That would be my number one tips, I think.
That was an amazing tip. That's such a good
It's such
point.
it's just a simple thing, but like it makes the world of a difference.
So simple, but you're so right, because if you haven't listened to the episode with the Faja doctor, we were talking about how is that surgery going to look in 10 years, and how are you going to
Exactly.
feel about it?
Yeah. It's forever. Like, and you don't want to be there and doing all these like revisions and it, you know, it's just like you will spiral. You want to do it once, and then you hopefully you'll be happy about it. So make sure you really give all your thoughts and all your
Ponder
give
on
all.
it.
Yes, for sure.
That was a wonderful tip. I'm going to start telling my girls that every episode. If you've thought about it, think about it again for a whole year. If you still want it, then do it.
Yeah.
So, Joseph, where can my girls find you?
So I would say the easiest way is just on my Instagram at Joseph Jericho. I don't have a website and all of that yet. I actually started my own business in August, and I've been so blessed that I haven't had to do any marketing for myself. So for now, it's just Instagram until I get my own website and all of that. So I think just DM me on my Instagram, and I will 100% respond. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show
Thank
today. It was
you,
such a
Miss
pleasure.
Mavi.
We're going to have you back on with Lauren.
Yes.
And
Can't wait.
that's going to be a good one. So if
That's
you
going to be a
guys
banger.
go, if you're listening to this and the next one's already out, go listen to it, because it's going to be so good.
I can't wait for that. And also, like, I love her. We were actually talking right before this, and we're like, it was going to be so much fun. It's so, you know, when you talk with people that you have so much in common with, it's just such a pleasure. I know. I just love it.
Conversation.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, with the surgeons, when they're coming on, they're always like, oh, a little nervous. I'm like, you know what? When you're talking about things that you love, that you're passionate about, that you know, like the back of your hand, conversation just flows, because it's just like, oh yeah, I talk about this every day.
That's exactly what happened just now. I was so nervous before this, but then you start asking me questions. Oh my God, I got this.
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
You're a pro.
Thank
you
you.
so
Ditto.
much, Joseph.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.
So if you're listening to this episode and you're listening to the Big Butts No Lies podcast, you might be on your surgery journey. And if you are, and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, you've come to the right place. I am so excited to do one-on-ones with you guys. I've realized as I do them more and more just how valuable they are to you, not only because you get my expert opinion, I get to guide you towards plastic surgeons that we know are going to do a good job and keep you safe. Besides all that, I get to talk to you about things that might not even be on your radar, things that you don't even know are possible. But since we get so in depth with our conversations, and I really get to know what your dreams are and what you're really looking for with your body, I can tailor my recommendations to the surgeons that I know can help you achieve that. And taking the guesswork out of who to go to is invaluable. So schedule your one-on-one phone call with me. You can go to my website, go to the quick links, submit your information, let me get to know you, let me see how can we help you. You can get your own team. You guys, I have been working so hard behind the scenes to come up with a perfect way for you to have your plastic surgery and not only come out with beautiful incisions, but also feeling beautiful on the inside. So book your call with me and take the guesswork out of your plastic surgery journey.
And don't forget, new episodes every Monday. I'll see you then.